Do you want to do this one?
No.
That's going to be my intro. Welcome back to the Interval, a musical theatre podcast. Today we're going to be talking all about Wicked again, but this time with plenty of spoilers, including some songs that we really didn't enjoy and songs that we really did enjoy.
All the good and all the bad and all of our impressions.
Oh yeah.
Full spoiler impressions of Wicked.
From someone who's seen the musical 18 times and someone who's seen it twice. Right, Tyler, Wicked Part 1, otherwise known as Wicked, which I really am interested to see how many people it tricked into thinking it was the full film. It didn't actually say Part 1.
I did see something on, I think it was Reddit last week, where someone said, I went to see Wicked in the West End, and like loads of seats were just empty after Defying Gravity. Do you think these people have gone to see the film, gone to see the show, and then just left because they think
Oh my god.
that is the actual ending? Like, it's not.
Oh, please don't do that if you have seen the film and you want to see the show. Please don't leave during the interval, unless you really don't like the show, but I'll be surprised. But they only called it Wicked when they knew there was a part 2, which is called For Good, which feels to me like a sequel to Fast and Furious or something. It'd be like Too Wicked, Too Good or something. Like Too Fast, Too Furious. I don't know.
What are your overall, like, full spoiler impressions of Wicked Part 1?
I think Wicked Part 1 made me fall in love with Jonathan Bailey, which wasn't particularly welcome, but I'm okay with it. No, it is fantastic. It makes you cry of joy and of sadness at the same time, which is I never thought would be possible. And I genuinely think it's probably one of my top 3 films that came out in 2024. It is brilliant. The songs are stunning. The cast is stunning. The Easter eggs are... I mean, there's enough Easter egg to get any musical theatre fan excited, and it takes the musical itself and just heightens it perfectly for the big screen. What about you, Tyler?
Yeah, that's really hard to follow up on, because a lot of what you just said is a lot of how I feel about the film as well. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I said this in the last episode, but I genuinely don't think they could have created a better adaptation than the version that we got. I think this film has everything. I think the casting was perfect. I'm really excited to see where Cynthia and Ariana take those two characters in part 2, because there's so much more to come on, both of those journeys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was wonderful, and I mean, we've established I've only been to the cinema 3 times this year, and 2 of those times was to see was to see Wicked. So I can't wait to own it and just watch it on a constant loop.
That extended cut as well, because didn't they say that it could have been 5 hours long, the first part of the film? Like, there's that much cut content that it could have been 5 hours long. Give me that.
I wish it was. I want all of the cut content, please. I think an interesting thing is the pacing and the length of the film, because when it was announced that just part 1, which only covers Act 1 of the musical, was going to be 2 hours and 40 minutes long, I think a lot of people, including myself,
and me,
were quite concerned, because part 1 alone is longer than the entire musical, but I think the pacing was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. What, the first act of the actual musical is an hour and 30, so it is double the length, but I don't know how I couldn't even think of a part you'd take out of that. Well, maybe Sentimental Man, but nah, that's just me. Speaking of Sentimental Man, the songs, it didn't cut any of the first act songs from the show.
Yeah, so Wicked Part 1, we get every single song from
Mm-hmm.
Act 1 of the musical, which was lovely.
No One Wants a Wicked is the first song that comes out. Every single part of that is phenomenal. They're running down these tulip fields that are real tulip fields that they planted, which I want to go to.
Yeah, 9 million tulips. I mean, I think the tulips are dead now.
What?
I don't think they last very long, and they were planted 2 years ago.
Gutted. They could have made that an attraction.
They could.
They planted them for real, and it starts off with the little munchkin boy running around singing or shouting that Elphabet's dead.
I mean, even in that first 30 seconds, you get musical motifs from Ding Dong the Witch is Dead
Mhm.
and Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Yep.
after No One Mourns the Wicked, when it's panning on the way to Shiz, we get the Wicked Part 1 title card, which is a direct homage to the original Wizard of Oz title card.
Yep.
I think it immediately cements that everyone involved with this film respected the musical and the Wizard of Oz and all of the source material and just wanted to do it all justice. And I think it's really lovely that it presents that within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. Thing is, as well, in the musical, obviously they only have a stage, and I mean it's an impressive stage, but the screen can make it so much bigger. And like, there was a scene in No One Mourns the Wicked, where they're all singing, and Glinda is not quite having the time of her life. Then they wheel out an effigy of Elphaba for Glinda to burn, and me and my friend I was sitting next to, has not ever seen Wicked. We just gasped. We were like. I was so annoyed at Glinda for burning the effigy of Elphaba. I'm genuinely still quite surprised that she did that. But I think it shows just how far she had to lie to herself to be popular. But like, imagine burning an effigy of your friend.
I mean, she has to do it because she's she's a representative of the people of Oz.
Yeah.
And to the people of Oz, Elphaba was wicked.
But it's like, I think it was a perfect representation of how far they went.
But I love that moment because I think the way Ariana Grande plays this song is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
It's made me cry both times. A lot of the time it makes me tear up just when I'm listening to it.
But she sings like she's in pain.
Yeah, she's delivering this good news, about this tyrant, effectively, who was terrorizing Oz and who's died, and there's this mass celebration going on, and she's giving that to these people. But you could see, like, behind her eyes, like, that heart breaking.
Yeah.
And the moment where the effigy that she needs to burn is wheeled out, there's a tiny moment of hesitation before she throws the torch, and
yeah, there is.
I just love it. I think it sets the scene so well, and then you obviously, this all leads up to the build up of the moment where you get the munchkin who says, "Is it true you were her friend?"
Yeah, Glinda, is it true you were her friend? But just before that as well, well, I'm just gonna go. And she gets back into the bubble. What? I can't hear you, and pops it again.
Yeah, the little additions like that. Obviously, in the stage production, you have the bubble, which it's situated above the stage. It sort of comes down on wires, so Glinda's harnessed into it in the show. Obviously, they don't need to do that in the film because you can do so much more on film. But I loved the addition that to make the bubble appear, Glinda steps on a little button that says "tap here for bubble," and then when the bubble comes up, because she's in the bubble, all of the sound outside of the bubble is muffled.
But it's such a subtle thing as well for musical theatre fans and stuff, because Glinda doesn't have any magic really.
No, that's one of the big points of the show.
But like in the film one, you get the real, because obviously in the show she's floating down on a bubble and you're thinking that's really cool. You might not notice that, whereas in the film, because they get those details,
yeah,
you get to actually see. If you were watching it with a skeptical eye, you'd go, why does she have to do that? You'd question things, and it instantly starts getting you to question what you're seeing and what you're hearing, which is obviously the whole point of the show, is that not everything you see is as it seems. And that song in the musical itself, in the stage show, sets the scene perfectly, and it does the same in the film. It's just brilliant. No One Mourns the Wicked is the perfect opener for the film and the musical.
Yeah, I'd also just like to say thanks, Ariana, for opting to go even higher on that last note.
Yes.
For anyone who doesn't know, that last Wicked that she sings at the end, she opted to go even higher than was originally written in the score. And I believe that decision was originally made by the actress Megan Hilty, who played Glinda on Broadway.
Ooh.
So yeah, I just thought that was neat the first time I listened to it.
She just smashed it. And to be fair, all of the ensemble did as well. It's just like the most iconic dance number, isn't it? And it was so musical theatre-y, and I loved it. And what I do love as well is like the proper tone change between that and Shiz, and the Dear Old Shiz. It's always so shocking to go from like this massive dance number to basically a choir.
Yeah. So straight after No One Mourns a Wicked, we get Glinda being questioned about, oh, you were her friend, like you knew the Wicked Witch, by this nasty munchkin. Because again, to Ariana's credit for her outstanding performance here, the look, the like pained expression and hesitation she gets after she repeats the word friend, it's just a lot, isn't it? Yeah. So you get her response to that is, it depends what you mean by friends. Our paths did cross at school, and then you get this nice little underwater transition where we go back in time and we go to Shiz.
Yep. And oh my god, the best thing about the film is that it used mostly practical effects. So like Shiz itself was built, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the practical sets are just incredible. Like, it just makes the whole world of the film feel so fully realized. I can't imagine being an actor on those sets, because
Yeah.
even as a viewer, it just feels like it pulls you into that world so much.
Especially like as an actor that's into that musical. You're stepping into the musical.
Yeah,
So so good. And in the stage show, you don't really see Shiz. There isn't much of a set change between the two. It's got surprisingly Wicked's got quite a simple set as far as I'm aware.
yeah.
I mean, I've obviously seen Wicked twice and you've seen it 18 times. Is that how you thought Shiz would look? Because it's exactly how I thought it would look.
I think so. Yeah,
Like I just knew it was this kind of prestigious college, and it has that like Wizard of Oz spin on it, doesn't it? Of it being on the water and just beautiful landscapes.
it does. I really like the fact that, because in the stage version, you obviously don't see people traveling across water in boats. But Galinda, sorry, is wheeled in on her array of suitcases and boxes that you obviously do see in the film. And I liked that as a nod to that, just before she pulls into the dock, Ariana made the choice to go and like sit on her luggage.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really nice little nod to sort of Galinda's like proper introduction in the musical.
Yeah. The whole film is littered with that kind of stuff. There's so much. I think the whole theme you're gonna get in this episode is just the fact that it's such a musical theatre film for musical theatre fans. And it's by people who are so passionate about this franchise, IP, I don't know, by the musical, that it's just, yeah, the film is littered with motifs of like, it's already spoiling the next part of the film. And it does it in Shiz as well. I mean, the first time you see Bok, the way he stands up, like the Tin Man, straightens up and everything like that, Shiz is like the breeding ground for the whole film, and you get that sense as soon as you're coming in with like the Glinda on the suitcases part and Elphaba walking in and everyone reacting, and it's I just think Shiz is such. I want to go to school in Shiz. I think it'd be so cool.
It does look like a lot of fun.
Mm. And you've obviously got, it's the first time you really see Madame Morrible as well, and you get a little glimpse of Kiela Cecil, which I'm not gonna lie, took me a long time to realise it was her. And obviously you get the first glimpse of Elphaba using her powers properly, which is, to be fair, that's so similar to the musical as well. The way that like, even to the way that the chair comes back into her arms.
Yeah, so in the musical, Nessa does not fly up into the air. She does spin around quite quickly though, and then the chair comes back. In the film, they're obviously able to do more with that stunt, and she is actually raised all the way into the air and eventually comes back to Alpha. I enjoyed that Madame Morrible noticed the magic and she took the credit for it.
Does she do that in the play?
As far as I can remember, she doesn't. But I thought that was a strong detail, because it felt like in that moment she immediately saw what Alpha did and she knew straight away, like, okay, you're who I can use, you're who I can manipulate.
The thing is, though, is no matter how many times you've seen it, especially in the film, the way they paint her, you think, oh my god, Elphaba's finally got a friend, someone who sees her for what she's worth.
Yeah.
And like the wizard and I couldn't sit there and feel bad for her, thinking, oh, you're going to get manipulated. The joy that she feels when she's told that she can be powerful and meet the wizard is just infectious. And I mean, Cynthia Erivo's voice in that, the first time you hear her sing, oh!
Yeah, I think what makes it even more impactful in the film is you get a little bit of backstory with little Elphaba and everyone's star of the show, baby Nessa. You get a little flashback and you see that little Elphaba has a little pop-up book of the wizard, which is clearly like quite jarring anyway, because it's clearly just propaganda made and produced for children to read. But you see there that all she wants to do is meet the wizard because he can grant your heart's desire and he's wonderful. And I feel like she clung to that book for years.
Yeah, the pages were stuck together. Like, you just know she sellotaped those pages back together and drew on it and things like that.
Yeah, I think Cynthia's The Wizard and I was phenomenal. That last section, that last little riff she does, it's great. I'd say it's one of the strongest I Want songs in musical theatre.
Yeah, thing is though, that's the first song that you hear her sing.
It is.
And, you know, if you're going into that film like I was, I'm going, I don't know, like, she's no Idina Menzel, which, bless my innocent socks at that point. As soon as she starts singing that first note, you go, oh, right, this is what I'm in for. Like, Ariana Grande is Glinda at this point. Cynthia Erivo opens her mouth and you're in love. Like, you're done. You just know that this film is going to shatter your heart. And the joy and the scenes, when she's running through that, like, desert and on the cliffs and hopping on the stepping stones to the beat
Yeah.
with the frogs jumping off. I do want to give the biggest shout out to the colour scheme when she was saying about degreenifying her with the glass. She walks into this kind of courtyard bit with a stained glass chandelier thing at the top and it spins around and occasionally it degrenifies her as she's singing about being degreenified. I thought it was amazing. It's just so subtle and it's just so clever. I just remember watching it being an absolute awe. And obviously, the Easter egg has already been sown for literally the entire plot.
Yeah, so this is a point I like to make about Wicked in general, not specifically the film, but I think sometimes the lyrics don't hit, but when they do, they're fantastic. And the foreshadowing in particular in these lyrics is really, really good. And also, while we're on that, I really like the way she says melt. I know that's weirdly specific, but to me, it sounds like she's singing about the vision and it's like she's grasping for the word. Because the lyric is, I'd be so happy I could melt. And it sounds like as she's singing it, she's trying to think of, you know, how would I feel if I was that? And it's like the way she sings it, it's like she's grasped the word out of thin air. It's just the little things that Cynthia can do with her voice like that just transcends the performance even more.
And I can't confirm, but when she's having that vision and the Munchkins are celebrating, part of me thinks that's from the original film, as in from Wizard of Oz. I don't think that's from the first scene. I could be wrong. I might have to rewatch it.
Yeah, I'd have to rewatch it.
But I swear that's from the original. I'd be interested what everyone else thinks. Like, let us know what you think. Email us, send us a DM, whatever. I don't know. I could be wrong. And then you've got Glinda and Elphaba.
What is this feeling?
Yep. They're roomed together, which is the funniest scene.
I think for me, it's so she pulls this curtain back and she's left a little mattress for Elphaba behind her many clothes rails, and she's just got a little note on it that says, "It's great."
It's great.
Like, it's such a Glinda thing.
But it's first time they're in a scene together properly, other than like the conversations. First time they're singing together.
Yeah, I think I enjoy this more in the film because in the musical, there's nothing between The Wizard and I ending and What Is This Feeling starting. The Wizard and I ends, Elphaba walks down to the left side of the stage, Glinda walks in from the right side of the stage, and they immediately start going into the dearest blah blah blah.
Yeah, they start writing their letters.
Which, thinking about it now, like, wow, Elphaba, the Elphaba actress doesn't get room to breathe for about 10 minutes.
Doesn't. But then also that's because you've only got so much time in the play. Whereas in the film, you get that time to hold space.
Yeah, I liked that we had a bit more interaction in between the songs and we got more of a build up into Loathing.
Yeah. Thing is, as well, is you actually get a reason to understand why they hate each other. Glinda's mean. Like, she's just mean.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favourite things about Glinda as a character is, like, you're not supposed to like her.
Yeah.
For, like, the first hour or so of the film. Like, you're meant to think, oh, she's just mean.
Yeah. But I think Ariana Grande does that so well. Because she's using that comedy, you end up thinking, oh, she's cruel. But then I didn't get my way. And she's being picked up. You can't not laugh at what she's doing. There was a line that she said that actually I had to stifle laughs in the cinema because it was a packed cinema and it was the first time I was watching it. Where she was saying to Bok that friends, what is it? Strangers are just people you haven't met yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, this girl is what is going on? But like, you kind of love to hate her, but you don't hate her at the same time. I think you just love her, but you know you shouldn't.
Yes.
It's that like class clown situation, isn't it? But she's just not meaning to. But then, like, what is this feeling? You actually do get to see her being a bit more spiteful and so clearly hate it. You know, she gathers the entire school. There's a whole dance sequence in there, the iconic dance sequence with the books.
Yeah, I love how TikTok coded the moment with the hitting the books in rhythm is. You know that's why, but it's great. It's so good. I think that's such a strength in Ariana's performance again, is she is spiteful and horrible, but you get those moments of hesitation, of which I will get onto. I love the way this song is directed on screen. I think it's so clever having the split point of views. I really like the moment where they're going through the first few lines of lyrics and it goes from being sort of inner monologue to out loud when she turns around and goes, "Yeah, well."
My face is flushing. It's just so clever. But after What Is This Feeling, obviously we get the subplot. The animals are being persecuted, and that's the first instance you really get of it when they're in his classroom and the writing on the board of animals should be seen and not heard. That's never a nice scene. I hate that scene. It's so good, but it feels so cruel.
Yeah, I think the Dr. Dillerman story in general in the film, I think it's more impactful. I mean, in the stage show, it still is, but you're also, you're clearly looking at a man who's in a slightly ridiculous goat mask, if we're being honest. And I think having Peter Dinklage's voice, which was a really, really nice performance, and seeing the connection that he has with Elphaba, it made me tear up the first time I watched it when Elphaba's helping him clear up the poppies that have fallen off the desk, and he says, "Oh, you should go and be with your friends, you don't have to do that." And she goes, "Oh, I have no friends." And he goes, "Oh, maybe just one." And they sort of shake hands and pause, and yeah, that got me. And then when, slightly skipping ahead, but when he's actually taken from Shiz later, yeah, it gets me a lot more emotional seeing it in the film than it ever did in the multiple times I've seen it on stage. So
Yeah, me too. But it's interesting though. Something Bad is the song that they strayed the most with in terms of like him going into a private meeting and stuff. That doesn't happen in the musical. It's in the classroom that he sings that song. They're sharing lunch.
yeah, that scene happens when they're in the classroom, and it's just Dr. Dillerman
And he eats the paper instead of the sandwich she gives him.
yeah, I think making it a slightly ensemble piece and having the other animals, they're obviously discussing their anxieties about, all the animals that are being silenced throughout the land of Oz. I think it worked really well. I'm not going to lie, it's a bit of a skip when I listen to it, but I do appreciate it.
Yeah, it is one of the weaker songs. I do kind of prefer the message behind the film one because obviously it's showing that the animals have a bit more power. It's not just Dr. Dillerman fighting it. There's lots of people fighting and they're all scared and they're going, one of them's like, "I'm fleeing while I still have the chance to speak." But like you get more of an idea of this is widespread. This isn't just the teachers. This is obviously in the song you do get the idea it's preachers and all that. But the multiple animals singing it, you end up getting a sense that this is really, really big.
Yeah, I think hearing that it's impacting a group rather than just Dr. Dillerman telling the story to Elphaba, I think it conveys, how big the problem is.
Yeah. And then obviously Elphaba runs out and heads back to Shiz and then gets mowed down by Jack. His name is Jack. Jack the Blue Horse.
Yeah, so this is a change I really like. So in the musical, we meet Fiyero. He's wheeled in on like the back of a cart. He's sleeping and the cart nearly hits Elphaba and he's quite mean. I like how much depth Jonathan Bailey gave Fiyero, and obviously that's a credit to, the script as well. But I think he feels much more like a proper character in the film, in my opinion. So in the musical, he gets wheeled in on this cart that nearly hits Elphaba, and they have an exchange that's, I think it's quite similar, sort of beat for beat, but you get the sense that he's just a lot more careless in general in the musical. And then, yeah, so in the film, Elphaba leaves Dr. Dillerman after seeing Something Bad. She's going back to Shiz through the forest, and she nearly gets run over by Jack the talking horse, which We don't know if that is his actual Oz name, but that is the name of the horse. Fun fact: Jack is a working horse. I don't know the official term. An animal performer who Jonathan Bailey requested to work with again on Wicked because he is also his horse in Bridgerton. But anyway, Alpha is nearly run over by the horse and the man on said horse, who we learn is Fiyero. And I feel like their interaction here is it's a lot nicer than in the musical.
Oh yeah, you instantly get to see she runs through the no, I'm not seasick. He's like, okay, and no, I haven't eaten grass. He goes, oh, did you not? I did. Like you instantly get the feeling this guy is so careless that he doesn't care that she's green. He doesn't care that she's different. In fact, he's actually impressed by it because she's the only one that doesn't kind of go all doughy eyed around him and pretend to be someone else. She doesn't care about pretending. And I don't see how you can't see that chemistry, even if you have no idea that they fall in love. There is such chemistry there in the first scene. You know, the way that he's looking at her, it's the first person that she's ever seen that doesn't care about the colour of her skin, but cares about the person she is and actually kind of admires the person she is. It's just such a good start. You do think of Fiero as a bit of a egomaniac. You think, oh, this guy's well, he's shallow, isn't he? That's the whole point. But you see a depth in there that he's hiding. But like, it's the first time you see Fiyero, and Jonathan Bailey just absolutely smashes it. And obviously, he goes into shiz, doesn't he? And Glinda does her, or Glinda's Glinda.
Yep, Galinda opens. She opens a newspaper that's announcing that Prince Fiyero is transferring to Shiz, and she's immediately like, "Right, I gotta put my makeup on." she's she's very calculated. She clearly knows what she wants here.
Yeah, but that's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I like that when you see, so you see Fiyero arriving with many a student gawping at him. I would be one of those students. You see Galinda kind of walking through the courtyard area, and one of my favorite things she does is there's just a guy sitting on a bench with a book.
Oh yeah.
She sort of goes up to him and feigns interest for about a second and goes like, "Hey, how are you?" And she just takes the book, just make herself look a bit sophisticated before she meets Fiyero.
And I mean, their whole interaction is so funny.
Yeah, I loved the way they blocked this scene with walking around the pillar and they're like flirting.
Fun fact about me and Tyler is we're massive book lovers. So the Dancing Through Life library scene pained and amused us at the same time. The loads of rare books and some medium rare absolutely broke me when they went into what did they call the library?
Oh, they walk in and she goes, "This is the book place."
The book place.
And then she goes, "There's lots of books, lots of rare books, and some medium rare."
It's so funny. Well, we meet Bok properly. Obviously, we met him a little bit at the beginning in Dear Old Shiz, but you meet him and where he introduces himself.
Yes, we meet Bok again. At this point, all we know about Bok is that he likes Galinda, and that is pretty much all we will continue to know about Bok.
Yep, that's his entire personality. And then we break into Dancing Through Life,
which I think is some of the best choreography in the entire film. They have the giant clock contraption that moves, and there's dancers like flipping through it and hanging onto it. And yeah, I love the way this was blocked because, I mean, in the musical, Dancing Through Life is just set in the courtyard of Shiz.
Yeah, well, because they've got a stage, they don't have a massive pit.
Yeah, I love that they sort of found a new location for the staging in this. There's so many like funny parts of this choreography as well. I love Galinda just like every time Fiyero moves, she's constantly like trying to stay in his eye line.
But it's like the whole thing is practical effects, isn't it? As well, all of the rotation, everything is practical, and you're just kind of impressed the whole time. And the whole of Shiz are impressed by Fiyero. They're just impressed by what he's doing. You know, the scene where they're copying his dance moves and stuff. You kind of feel compelled to do the same because he's got that much gravitar and the whole setting, the whole music, the whole scene. You just feel so. You can't take your eyes off of Fiyero the whole time. He's just got so much charisma, and the whole song helps embolden that perfectly. And then poor Elphaba just wants to read her book, which I feel that.
I mean, so in this scene, you see that Elphaba and Nessa are also in the library and they're, I assume, studying. And I like that Fiero notices Elphaba as they're walking in and he sort of waves and Elphaba just rolls her eyes. But I also stand with Elphaba in this moment because I too would leave the library if someone was stomping all over books, of which she does because she says to Nessa, I'm going to study outside.
And to be fair, there was some serious book assault happening. The way he was breaking the spines of those books, I think, broke my heart every time. But that song is my favourite song in the film. It was just iconic. And obviously, at the end of that song, you get Glinda getting Bok to go and ask Nessa to the dance that night.
Yeah, so this is Galinda redirecting Bok's attention onto Nessa.
That bit's done so well. And obviously, then you've got Fiero standing at the door like a scarecrow, which is really cool.
Yeah, that was a nice Easter egg.
And then Elphaba and Nessa have their little conversation. And Nessa's so mean in that one. You wouldn't understand. Alright, thanks, girl. Wouldn't understand that you're in love with a person you've just met that you didn't know existed 20 minutes ago. I think she does know exactly what that feels like, thank you. Nessa's not meant to be a nice person. We don't like Nessa.
We don't have room for Nessa in this house. But we do have massive respect for Marissa Bodie, who plays Nessa, because I think she delivers a fantastic performance.
She is fantastic. You obviously then get the scene with Glinda. They find the hat for Elphaba, the classic pointed hat, as they're getting ready for the dance.
Yeah, and this is back to the point I was mentioning while we were talking about what is this feeling is Fanny and Shen Shen, who are Galinda's friends.
Friends lightly.
Yeah, they're always around her for the first portion of the film, at least. They're in her room and she's getting ready to go to the Ozdas dance with Fiero, and they pull out this supposedly ugly hat, which is, reminiscent of a witch's hat. And I feel like there's almost hesitation there when they say, like, what is this? And she turns and looks at it. Because I think Galinda's room is just full of clothes and contraptions and makeup. And it's like everything she's brought to Shiz. It's just her wardrobe and related to her appearance. Why would she pack that hat if she doesn't like it? So I think she secretly does like the hat. And when she realizes that they think it's ugly, that's when she doubles down and she's like, oh yeah, I'd never be seen in that. And I also like the hesitation here when Elphaba comes back in the room after she's been having a sorcery lesson, and they're sort of looking at Galinda like, oh, you should give her the hat because it's ugly and she wears it, it'll be funny. And again, you can see like hesitation there. Like, she's probably thinking, oh, I'm mean, but I don't know if I'm that mean. And then she notices the sorcery books.
Yeah.
And that's what sort of flares her jealousy enough to then go into, you should join us at the dance tonight and you can wear this hat if you don't have anything to wear. And that's just me again going into a tangent about the subtleties in Ariana Grande's performance.
It's the best bit of it, isn't it? The film can get those Easter eggs so much better than the stage show can. If you're up in the rafters of that theatre, you're not seeing what's on her books. Whereas in the film, they know that they can focus on things that you couldn't normally see. And you get a really rich experience out of it. And Elphaba and Glinda's story there's a lot of subtleties in there. Especially Elphaba obviously gives Glinda the training wand later on. You get to kind of see why she did that, and you get to see the jealousy and the hesitation and there's already starting to be a little bit of respect between them. And you see that in the film.
Yeah, I think on that as well is the fact that there's always that admiration there, because especially from Elphaba's perspective, Galinda is this person that she's just loved and she's popular. That's something that Elphaba's never known. And from Galinda's perspective, immediately, Elphaba can do the thing that Galinda wants to do, which is she wants to become a sorceress. That's why she enrolled at Shiz, because, she wants to study under Madame Morrible. So I think the way the respect kind of comes out more to the build up to the Ozdas dance is really well done.
Yeah. In the film, Dancing Through Life is kind of, nearly 10 minutes long. The musical does Elphaba walking into that dance in her iconic Wicked Witch attire so well. But I have never cried as much as I did than when they did that in the film. everybody laughing at her and the silence and her dance. It's just beautiful. You're encapsulated. I mean, you could hear a pin drop in the cinema watching her perform her dance because you instantly look at it and think, oh my gosh, she doesn't even care. But then the more it goes, just like Glinda says to Fiero, she does care. Of course, she cares what people think. Anyone who's ever been made to feel embarrassed or left out or put in Elphaba's shoes in that situation, it is the most emotional thing to watch. It's just such a nice departure from the source material of that dance because she doesn't do a dance like that in the musical.
No, in the musical, it's the comedy is played up a lot more. I think you get the moment of them dancing together, which is obviously emotional, but I think the way it's played in the film, it feels so much more gut wrenching.
Yeah. You really actually get to see Glinda's regret because she's not meant to be good, but she gets her redemption there. That Ozdust duet is the turning point of the entire film.
I like the way that when she first steps forward and she's sort of trying to dance, like you can see Elphaba's not sure if she's doing it in a genuine way, and she kind of stops and puts her arm down and like pauses, and then she kind of like shakes her head a bit and she's like, okay, I'll try something else. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'll try something else to prove to you that I'm being genuine. And obviously you have the moment where she spins around and her friends are saying like, stop, what are you doing? And yeah, she's like, no. She turns back to Elphaba and then they dance together. And
Yeah, they go back to their bedroom and they tell each other secrets. Glinda's made me laugh so hard.
yeah, her delivery there was great.
He doesn't know yet. He doesn't know we're going to be married. The whole time, if you know the soundtrack or you've seen the musical, you know you're waiting for Popular. And they crush it. Her spinning about. Like, Glinda ends up having such childlike glee for the entire time. It literally gives off the vibe of this is a small child who has been given makeup for Christmas or for their birthday and just wants to put it on everybody and make them look pretty. She's spinning around on that light and she's squealing like a little girl. She loves it, and you can't help but be infected by her joy. The whole scene is so good.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite moments in the film. I think Ariana's comedy is fantastic.
You can see the pain in Elphaba's eyes when she looks in the mirror and actually sees herself, and it's lovely.
You have to assume that's the first time she's ever been told that she's beautiful. Unless her nanny told her, when she was a little girl, but that's why she runs out of the room, because she doesn't know how to react. I like that they ended Popular in the hallway, because you get that extended ending, and they let Ariana just do Ariana. There's a good interview I watched, actually, where she was talking about Popular, because I believe it was one of the first things she filmed when they started, like, full production, and she was saying, like, the whole thing was choreographed, but there were, little bits that she ad-libbed, and she said one of the choreographers, they were going to teach her how to spin the ball on her finger, like perfectly spin it when it comes out of the case, and she just said, oh no, like it doesn't spin. She was just like, that's the joke, that she tries to do it and she can't, and it just falls over. And I just think like that's such a good representation of how much she understands that character.
Yeah, I think it all just keeps coming back to like how faithful they were to the actual musical. And it's just a movie done by people who love what they're doing, and it shows. And like Popular, Dancing Through Life, all of those kind of upbeat songs, they're just infectious. I mean, to be fair, even the song afterwards, I'm Not That Girl, this is the point where Dr. Dillamond gets taken away, and we meet the lion cub from Wizard of Oz, and is rescued by Fiero and Elphaba. And it's the first time we really see them getting one-on-one time, isn't it? To this day, I still don't know why she didn't send him to sleep.
I think it's implied that because she cares about him deeply, even though she doesn't realise. That's why. Also, I think it's partially a nod to the Wizard of Oz in the Wizard of Oz scene where the poppies make Dorothy and everyone fall asleep. The Scarecrow doesn't fall asleep.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's a nice Easter egg. You also get the little Easter egg of, so in the musical they just walk with the lion cub, and in the film they ride bikes and they put the lion cub in the little bike, which is a very clear nod to Toto in the Wizard of Oz being in the basket.
Yep, and it's so cute as well. And obviously they get their little moment, and she sings I'm Not That Girl, which I don't know how you couldn't cry at that song. It's so beautiful, and she puts so much passion into it. You feel the heartbreak, you can feel the realization happening, and the chemistry that they both have together is beautiful. That song is just stunning. One bit that I genuinely wasn't a fan of. When, she comes back and obviously we see Fiero pining for her a little bit. And the note, a message from the Wizard of Oz comes to basically invite her in to see him. And it starts raining. You know the bit I'm on about, Tyler. It starts raining, and Madame Morrible's like, hey, we better not get you wet. And as soon as I saw that, obviously, as we know, Elphaba does not die from water. She cries in the film. That's kind of a big tell. There's water everywhere. To me, it just felt a bit misleading. Of like, oh, we better not get you wet. My friend, who hasn't seen any of it, looked at me and was like, oh, see, I get it. And I'm like, no, you don't. That's a massive red herring. Personally, I don't think it needed to be in there. I don't see why we needed to confirm that she shouldn't get wet, because nothing's going to happen to her if it starts raining.
My thoughts on it was always Madame Morrible said that, and maybe it just sparked a stupid rumour in Shiz, and then...
Ah, so you think that's like the beginning?
I think so. And then, as the years went on and she became the Wicked Witch, it was, oh yeah, water will melt her. If we can throw water at her, she'll die.
But then the whole thing was, what was it? I hear her soul is so unclean, pure water can melt her. The reason they're saying it could melt her is because she's unclean. But at the beginning, when that happens, she's not. Everyone is celebrating her at that point. She's popular. I don't know if it needed to be in there. It was such a nice moment, but then it's like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's also there for the exposition that Madame Morrible, her speciality is weather, which comes back later. Hence why Dorothy was blown to Oz in a tornado.
But I do feel like in doing that, they kind of made it so that Elphaba's non-allergy to water, you're instantly tricked into thinking that that's actually a thing. I'm interested to see how they play it at the end. Like,
yes.
In the second, that'd be in another episode. But I promise this podcast is not just Wicked the podcast. Yeah, I see why it was in there, but I think it's put more red herrings down than it has cleared anything up.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But it does spark my favourite song in the entire musical, One Short Day, as they, get on the train to Oz, both Glinda and Elphaba, which is a real train, which I thought was so cool.
Yeah, that's just another really strong example of how effective having all the sets being practically made were.
The train scene itself, and as soon as they step into Oz, is just beautiful. Like, I remember being in such awe when I went and saw the musical. But the film, everyone's green and it captures that city vibe so well. And obviously, the icons that are Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel arrive, and I think I might have nearly fallen off my chair about 3 times when that happened.
It was a big thing in the lead up to the film. What are their cameos going to be? I think a lot of people thought Idina might be cameos Elphaba's mother.
Oh no. She can't. She's already Rachel Berry's mum.
Of course. Yeah, I love the fact that they not only got cameos, they got an entire musical number within a musical number. There's lots of little nods to when they portrayed the characters in the Broadway production within that sequence as well. Yeah, it's just really, really good. I really like the moment where they step down to Glinda and Elphaba as well. And there's a little passing of the torch moment there. I really like Glinda going to sing and getting a hand over her face.
Yeah, Kristen just shushes her. But they still embody that vibe, don't they? You get Glinda and Elphaba, the OGs, in their characters. I think they couldn't have done it better unless they were on there for longer. But
yeah, that's the only thing they do. They do seemingly just vanish.
Yeah.
after One Short Day.
I kept looking for them because obviously they did their little scene and then they went into a dance break, and I kept looking for them and they just never exist anymore.
Yeah. There's also some nice little cameos in this sequence. So you get Winnie Holtzman, who was the book writer of the musical. She's the citizen that says, he must be a wizard, when they've got the sequence about wizard coming to Oz. And then as Elphaba and Glinda are about to enter the wizard's palace, you get Stephen Schwartz, who is the composer of the musical, saying, the wizard will see you now.
Which is the best line in Wicked.
Very iconic line, which was not originally in John M. Chu's script. So thank you, Ariana Grande, for fighting for that line, because apparently she read the script called Cynthia and said, "Have you finished the script?" And then said, "Where is this line?"
Absolutely right, because it's the best line in the entire musical. But then, like, if Wicked the movie is one of the best things in tonal change, because you've got this massive celebration, and as soon as that door shuts, it's silence, and it's so uncomfortable and tense, and you just know something bad is about to happen. You've obviously got the monkeys, which you know are going to be the flying monkeys, and something's not right there. And obviously, none of the animals are talking, which you think is just because they're guards, but it's definitely because they're not meant to, and they've been conditioned to not. You get a glimpse of the classic wizard mechanical mask, which you get such a cool version of in the actual musical as well. They look really similar.
Yeah, they're really, really similar. I think it was completely modelled on what you see in the musical.
Yeah, obviously then we get to see the lovely Jeff Goldblum, who is playing Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, but he's a good wizard. I like that he does the silly magic trick of pulling a coin from behind Elphaba's ear. I really like that when Glinda introduces herself, he just gets her name wrong. Because I'm pretty sure he says Belinda.
Yeah, he does say Belinda.
I was a bit annoyed when I saw that because I really laughed. And, like, not many other people laughed at that. And I was like, come on.
I thought it was hilarious. The thing is, it's the first time that someone's ever got her name wrong other than Dr. Dillerman. But it's the first instance where she's not the popular one. There's no spotlight on her. There's a spotlight on Elphaba. There's that slight shock of like, oh god, this isn't for me. And you can tell that she's uncomfortable about it. And obviously, the fact that she doesn't try and make it all about her, there's real growth there. Obviously, we then get Jeff Goldblum singing A Sentimental Man.
I don't really have any notes on this song at all, to be honest. Like, it's okay.
Like, it's fine. It's the same kind of thing as Something Bad. It's the moment where you would go to the toilet or get some popcorn. Then obviously she gets the Grimmery, which I think is the coolest book I've ever seen in my life, even though it seems really impractical. And the way they did the flying monkeys, I felt so bad.
Yeah, the transformation scene that Chistery has when he's getting his wings is quite painful to watch, really.
How do they do it in the musical?
I mean, it's similar. He sort of writhes around and screeches, and then the wings come out of his back. But I think the way that to do it with the close-ups in the film was very impactful.
Yeah, and obviously how shocked they all are, apart from Madame Morrible and the wizard.
Yeah.
They know that's going to happen. And obviously then we kind of break into the song. She runs. I'm not going to lie, was not expecting Wicked to become a horror film as they're running through that corridor being chased by flying monkeys. Scared the life out of me.
Those monkey jump scares were good.
They absolutely sent me. I was not expecting it. And yeah, it was just, I felt bad for Glinda. She was proper getting the worst of it.
Yeah, I really liked the way they expanded this sequence. In the film, I thought having the hot air balloon was really well done. And the fact that, Glinda didn't hesitate at all when Elphaba said, get in the balloon, come with me. And if that roof hadn't closed, she would have just gone.
Yeah.
We also get the wonderful moment where the guard comes in, grabs Glinda's leg.
Let go of my leg!
That's actually a moment that wasn't originally meant to be in the film because the coverage was on Cynthia in that moment. And I think Ariana improvised that sort of in the background. And after the take, Cynthia said, like, stop, you need to turn the camera around and get that because that was really, really funny.
Yeah, I mean, such desperation. And there were so many Easter eggs in there as well. Obviously, the hot air balloon and the location of where the wizard is from, plus his real name being littered about there. The way they extended it meant it became such richer landscape. And, well, like you said, the fact that Glinda was going to go with her without hesitation, you get to see just how far they were willing to go for each other. And obviously, when it gets to it, she doesn't. She stays, which is... well, it's understandable. I saw an interview with Ariana Grande where she basically said it's showing that Glinda knows what she wants from that choice. She's not willing to give up her life for it. But that's not because she's weak, it's because she knows what she wants. And she's got her life. It's like when you're in a relationship and you want to go two separate ways. It doesn't mean you don't love them, it just means that you have a different path in life. And that's what Glinda's doing. She was always destined to be Glinda the Good. And her not choosing that isn't her betraying Elphaba. It's her choosing life over solitude.
It was either the same or a similar interview, but where Ariana was saying about that moment where when you get into Defying Gravity after they've sung together and you get the hesitation from Glinda and Elphaba, recognizes that as, saying, like, I can't go with you. It was Ariana saying that having the strength and not go in her own way, Glinda is as strong as Elphaba, even though Elphaba is choosing to go.
You actually get to see that as well. The fact that they honed in on those kind of things, it just makes it so much richer. You actually get to see the hesitation, the love in their eyes, and the sadness, but then also the determination. You know, her running off and finding a cloak because she's trembling, just like the lion in the cage. It's just such a lovely, tender moment.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. I hadn't connected.
It's such a pivotal moment, and obviously this is all happening in the middle of the song. And I will say, it was kind of sad that they stop and started that song so many times. I see why they did it.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit jarring the amount of times they sort of cut the music.
Obviously, in the musical, she goes, "I'm the one you want, it's me," and then breaks into the song. In the film, she didn't do that. I literally like went to lean forward to get really into that line and that big break into song, and she didn't do it because obviously she jumped off the building, and it felt so jarring. But then also, I guess it made me want more at that point. You kind of go, just sing this note, I just want to hear it. And then when she does, oh my god. I feel like that's what she sung in her audition, and everyone went, yep, cool. We don't need anyone else. It's just such a beautiful end to the film. And obviously, you see like Bok and Fiero's reaction to her being called Wicked.
Yeah, the wizards. I love the wizard's reaction when she's flying above all the guards and just like the look of terror on his face. Like she's that girl, you know, she's that powerful. And obviously, you know, he has no powers. You know, he has no means of stopping her on his own, which is why the wizard and Madame Morrible need Glinda. You know, they've got someone that they can manipulate, which is a whole other tangent of which we will get to see in part 2.
Yeah, in the next episode, we will be talking all about our predictions for part 2, including the 2 new songs, of which one of them has supposedly been leaked. Tune in next week for more Wicked. I promise this isn't a Wicked podcast. There's just so much to talk about. This week, I'm holding space for specifically Jonathan Bailey jumping off of the horse in Wicked Part 1. What about you, Tyler?
Fabulous. And speaking of fabulous, I would like to hold space for Bowen Yang in all of the scenes he is in as Fanny in Wicked Part 1, because I think he's fantastic and his line reads are some of my favourite things in the entire film, specifically when just after Galinda changes her name to Glinda on the train platform and you can see Fanny in the background, he just goes, such braverism, and it took me out, and I love it. So thank you, Bowen Yang. I hope you'll be in for good. I don't think you will be based on the musical, but I hope you are.
Be sure to follow us at the Interval MT Pod on X, Twitter, and Instagram, and tune in next Friday for more musical theatre content.